just do this as a mark of respect for Padmasambhava. Yeah, so it's really nice to see everybody. We usually have 4 main ceremonies at the centre. The Buddha's Enlightenment Day, we celebrate that because it's the most important thing. The Buddha's passing away, and the Sangha Day, all the enlightened beings and all the other practitioners to celebrate them as well. And then we also have this regal figure on the shrine on the white fabric, Padmasambhava, who is in some ways unlike the other figures we see. Like we see the Buddha in his robes, we see the other ones, and they're quite plain robes, no adornment. So let's just take a few moments to just look at Padmasambhava and just open to him and his headdress, which is like a crown. He's got a trident. He's got a vajra in his hand. The vajra that cuts through delusion, ignorance. And as the day goes, as we go through the day, if anybody just wants to come and sit in the room lunchtime rather, just keep looking at him and that's been my practice over the years. Who is this character? Who is this mysterious Padmasambhava? So I wanted to tell you that. So it's about 1988. I just finished my accountancy qualifications and I was looking forward to my first job, and I'd landed this job in Victoria as an accountant, and the premises were really plush. It was like, so beautiful going into the front. Yeah, it was all sort of like gold doors, and the reception was all sort of brass or gold, and it's just so beautiful. And I just think, wow, I'm so lucky to be working at this place, because it just made you feel good just going in through the front door. It wasn't so good when you got into the rest of the place, but at least the front was actually nice. And it was my first real job, so I was really happy to be there. And then when about 6 months in, they said, we're relocating. And I went, oh no, dude, I want to work in London. I said, where are we relocating to? So they said, we're relocating to Brighton, Guildford, or Croydon. And I went, oh no, I don't want to go and work in any of those places, especially not Croydon, because I actually was born in Croydon. I lived in there, so I wanted to escape from Croydon. And then about 3 months later, they said, no, we are going to Croydon. I went, oh God. So I ended up, in a year's time, I ended up in Croydon, where I live. And then about 2 months after that, I'm sitting in the office, in our nice open plan office, and one of the accountants, Shirley, she was just running across the office. And I was like, Shirley, where are you going? You're not meant to be running across the office, it's health and safety. She goes, no, I'm going to be late for my meditation class. And I'm like, oh. And I don't know, she must have noticed something on my face, because she just stopped and she said, do you want to come? And I went, yeah, I'm coming. So I went, and 3 weeks later, she stopped going. She said, oh, it's rubbish, I don't get anything from it. And I was like, really? I really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And what was interesting was the Croydon Buddhist Centre, they've got a standing Buddha, probably about 4.5 feet or 5, so that's my first physical encounter with this standing figure, which really, it just somehow spoke to me in some way, this figure. And as the weeks got on, and I learned more and more about Buddhism, the Buddha, just kept appealing to me more and more as this figure, this kind, compassionate figure, something that I aspired to. So that was the first figure that came into my life. And then about a year later, I went to one of the retreat centres called Rivendell, and I walked in their shrine room, and there was this huge tanker similar to this, and right in the middle was a figure called White Tara, and that figure just was mind-blowing to see this figure. And every day going in the shrine room at various points during the day, just keep seeing this figure, and this figure just started to affect me in a really positive way. I'd never seen anything so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And then I come to the third figure that's affected me was I went to the ordination centre, and there was a painting by one of the order members called Chintamani, who actually inspired that figure there. Is that right, Kulimitri? Yeah. So it's that central figure. Central figure. So it's that central figure. I saw it, and it just spoke to me in just sort of an emotional way. It really engaged me. I was so curious about who is this character, and still now, nearly 30 years later, I just look at it and I'm just sort of stunned by the beauty. So he's dressed sort of unlike the Buddha figure here completely. He's actually quite kingly, but I actually think he's quite magician-like. So Padmasambhava was meant to be spontaneously born from a lotus, a white lotus, in the lake of Dharmakosha in a region called Udayana in India, which I think now is Pakistan. So he's just a spontaneous arising child at the time. And I think it's quite interesting in myth and fairy tale, when a child comes into being, it comes into being to bring something new into the culture, something that is unknown, something that's needed into the culture. And we have that with the Buddha being born. Even if you look at the Christian tradition of Jesus, he brought something that shook up the current way of society. Society had got sort of too rigid, it lost things. So whenever you get a youngster, a baby being born, it's something new and fresh that needs to be birthed and brought into the culture. And in some ways, it wasn't so much that he brought something into India. He actually was requested at a certain point to take the Dharma to Tibet. So that's why he's revered so much in Tibet, Bhutan, and the Himalaya region. So I'm not going to talk about the rest of his life. I'm going to actually skip forward to the time when he was invited by the Tibetan king Tristan Jetson to Tibet to teach the Dharma, to bring the Dharma to Tibet. The Tibetan king Tristan Jetson, he'd actually asked Santarachita to come and teach the Dharma in Tibet and to build a monastery, the Samye monastery. However, every time they tried to build the monastery, it kept getting knocked down. The local gods, the deities, and things like this, they kept knocking it down. So there wasn't a chance for the Buddhism to get established in Tibet. And it's quite funny. There's a tale in Wales in England where Vortigern, the one of the kings around Wales, he was trying to build a castle, and every time the builders built this castle, the castle kept getting the foundations kept breaking and the castle kept coming down. And he asked his sages, what can we do? And the sages said, you need the blood of a child that had an earth mother but an otherworld father. Okay, so he sent out his men to find a child that was born from an earthly mother but had an otherworld father, a magical or mystical father. And they found this child, and the child turned out to be Merlin. And the young boy was really intelligent, even though he was a young boy. And Vortigern engaged him and talked to him, and the young boy said, you don't actually need to kill me, you don't actually need my blood. I'll tell you what's going on. Below the foundations of this castle are two dragons, and they're fighting, and their fighting is complete destroying every evening the castle that you've built. So he told him, then what you need to do is you need to dig down, let the dragons out. And the dragons actually fought, and the red dragon defeated the white dragon, and because of that they were actually able to build the castle. So I think for the analogy for me is that when you then go to Tibet, the local deities are constantly destroying the Samye temple and stopping it from being built, stopping Buddhism from going to Tibet in the first place. What's needed is a Merlin. And that's what happened. The King Tristan Jetson sent to India and called Padmasambhava, who is like the master. He's like the magical master. So he went to Tibet and he engaged the demons, the local gods, all the energies that were obstructing Buddhism from going into Tibet. And he did it in quite a remarkable way. And this is what really impresses me. And it's something that we can actually learn and model ourselves. I think he's like, there's a word in Buddhism called kusala, which means skillful means. It's like he's the exemplar of skillful means. All these forces, troubled souls, he was able to find a way somehow to engage them. He never sort of rejected them. He never sort of dismissed them. He never sort of marginalized them or pushed them away. He somehow found a way in to engage them, to connect with them. And it's like, how do we do that? As we go through life, there are people who we may find we don't get on with, or they may be too loud, they may be too too talkative. There could be lots of things going on, and how do we find a way to connect with people? So he was able to connect with these demons, and they were so impressed and they were so transformed their engagement with him that they supported Buddhism. They actually supported the Dharma, and they wanted to help it spread. And the Samye temple or monastery was built in the end, and then he spent 3 years, they say it could be longer, in Tibet and those areas, teaching the Dharma and spreading it. Whilst he was there, he had two main consorts, a female Dakini called Yeshe Sogyal and another Dakini called Mandarava. And I really like that, because in my practice I've got the Buddha and White Tara, and they feel like my teachers. You know, they're figures that I can look up to for guidance. Sometimes in my meditation, if my meditation practice is going really difficult and life's really difficult, I imagine like the Buddha putting his one arm on my shoulder and White Tara putting her other arm on my shoulder, and just going, it's going to be all right. It may feel like life is awful and you don't know what to do, but just, it's going to be all right somehow. I don't know how, but just trust in some way that the answers are going to come, or something's going to emerge to sort things out. So I really like the Tibetan tradition for that they've got these Dakinis, Buddha-like figures that are held in high regard, and these Dakinis, and Padmasambhava, they sometimes go to what's called cremation grounds, and cremation grounds in India and those places are where you take the dead bodies and they set them alight, and for me the symbolism of it of the Dakinis is they're inviting us to go to the cremation ground to work on what is it inside of us that we need to let go of, that's actually holding us back, that's actually not actually serving us. It's actually getting in the way of us actually, on a basic level, just enjoying our lives, just leading good, healthy lives. It could be anything from self-doubt, not thinking you're good enough. So many things. Being scared. It can be the self-doubt of not thinking you've got anything to contribute in the world or say. It can be from something like thinking you're ugly, so you don't even go and engage to get a partner. I've definitely had that over the years. So that's something I really do connect with. So what do I need to do? Do I need to go into the cremation ground, just like Padmasambhava and Yeshe Sogyal? And what do I need to let go of? What do I need to transform? And then come out of the cremation, go back into the world and live my life, freer from whatever was hindering me or restricting me. So I think, looking at Padmasambhava, he's got this kingly look to him. He's also got this mythical, magical look to him. as I said before, he's like the king of skillful means. But he's more than that. He's at the center of the mandala, and at the center of the mandala, he will hold up the mirror to you to reflect back who you can become. He's completely for you. He's dedicated his life to spreading the Dharma and making a difference in the world. He's also embodies metta and compassion. So that's what he's doing again. He's just going out into the world. He's just dedicated his life to supporting us, and also he's all accomplishing. So he will always find a way to help us. He will always find a way. And that, again, he's sort of guiding us to trust yourself that you will also find a way. Trust yourself that you can look into the mirror and you can see yourself, even though at the moment I might be looking in the mirror thinking, yeah, you don't look very much, you haven't achieved very much. And little by little, he will encourage you. And in the past, I used to think about, when you think about making a difference in the world, the people who I used to think about making a difference were like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, even Princess Diana. There's so many people who made a difference. And then I used to feel a bit disempowered. I'm never going to make a difference like them. And then the little voice came to me, you don't need to make a difference like them. You can make a difference every day in all the little things you do. When you go into the shop, just being polite and kind to people, just saying hello, just acknowledging the people as you walk down the street. There's so many ways to make a difference, and you don't know all the little things you do, what ripple effects they have over the years. People might come back to you and go, I remember you from 10 years ago, and you were really nice and friendly, and that made a difference. And you just don't know who's coming to you. And I think when I was about 19, I think when we're growing up, we don't really have anybody to talk to. We don't have anybody to share our inner world, our struggles and our demons. And I was at college, and my teacher was this Jamaican lady teaching accountancy. And she came in one day and she said, I've just been made the faculty counsellor. And I thought, really? And she said, if anybody wants anybody to talk to, if you've got any issues, come and talk to her. And I know what it was like. All of us were like, no one, the boys, no one's going to do that. Forget it. No one's going to do that. And then I was feeling really bad. No one to talk to. And I went and talked to this lady one day, and it was the best thing I could do to unburden myself to somebody, all the issues in my family that I'd had since a little kid. It was just a really great experience. And that was the physical person I could do it to. And what I found with Padmasambhava is I do the same thing with him. That's one of the ways I engage him. I go and unburden myself to him, and have a sense back from him of just sort of like appreciation of just being honest. And I think that what Buddhism's about is waking up, and part of that waking up is just being honest. How are you at the moment? How am I at the moment? What is going on for me? and actually the Buddha's delight in you just saying what's going on for you. Oh, I'm feeling rubbish at the moment, or I just don't know what to do. And I've had to take a lot of I don't know what to do to Padmasambhava in the last 8 years, because I've got my mother who's literally falling to pieces. And with old people, how do you help them? You know, it's all right with babies, children. There seems to be a lot more experience, but looking after an old person, there's not much experience. And so I had to take what do I need to do to help my elderly mother? And also I've had to take to him, she's going to die. I don't want her to die. And I've gone through that and got to, it's okay for her to die, and been able to talk to her about her dying, which I think is an actual delight. To actually do that, to be able to talk to your mum about her dying, and us not to be sad about it, us even laughing about it. We were laughing about it the other day. She was laughing about going to heaven because she's a Christian. And I said to her, oh yeah, you'll probably cooked God some nice Caribbean food. And she said, really? You know, it was quite funny. So I think that's one of my greatest things with my mum. We can really talk. You know, I feel quite blessed at that. Me and my dad can't talk, but you know, you can't have everything. So I think when I came and got involved with Triratna, I first loved the meditation, the mindfulness breathing, the metta bhavana. Sometimes I didn't love metta bhavana. Sometimes I found it quite difficult at the first stage. You know, I didn't feel love for myself. You know, sometimes I could feel my things that I wasn't happy about myself with. Then I started to do different things like the pujas and the different devotional practices, and then I started to engage with the different figures. So part of me wanted to say that you need to actually find your way into Buddhism, and your way may be at the start meditation, your way actually may be study, and your way may be the Sangha, that you really love all the people that come to the center. They touch you, they hold you in a way, and you feel more alive, or you feel safe when you come into the building. And another way for you may be through engaging the Buddha, Padmasambhava, and the different figures. They're a lovely thing to do, to explore them, to engage them, to reflect on them, you know. And I try once or twice a week to go for a silent walk, which our teacher Sangha encouraged us to do. Go for a walk, spend some time with yourself. It's such an important practice to give the mind a chance to settle. Put the mobile phone down. Don't talk to any friends. Just go and have some time to yourself, especially in nature, where nature's a good healing space, and it's a good space to help you settle. And I go and sit by this little pond, and as I sit there, I feel the presence of Padmasambhava, and also another figure from the Poseidon with his trident as well. It's almost like they're brothers, you know. And it's quite funny. One day I was contemplating Padmasambhava, and he lifted up his trident, and he actually stuck it in my in my stomach. And I was like, well, that's a weird thing to do. And he pulled it out. It didn't actually hurt me. And then when he stuck it in me, I went, And then I could notice in the imaginal where I can notice this black sort of pus coming out of me. And I got a sense of, this is stuff I need to let go of again. Let go of that crap, that's actually holding me back. So I think I'm going to conclude now, and we're going to conclude by just spending some time again, just looking at that figure. And then just think, for those who already know the figures, thinking about what figures move you. So let's just sit for a few minutes, just looking at the figure of Padmasambhava. Or you might want to look at the Buddha and just see how they touch you. And as you look at that figure is looking at you. And that figure is just radiating metta, compassion, love. That figure is wishing you all the best in your life. That figure sees you, warts and all, virtues, vices. That figure completely and utterly accepts you. That figure's aspiration is to support you and help you in whatever way he can. That figure wants you to wake up. And for you to develop your awareness. That figure wants you to follow what is your passion, what is your meaning in life, what brings you your energy, what makes you most alive. And at this moment, just allowing yourself to get a sense all around the room, surrounded by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the sky. looking down on us and thinking, what a precious thing to do on a Sunday, to come to the Buddhist Centre, to be with others, to nourish your mind, to support your growth and development. Finding a way to do it at your own pace. And then if you haven't, you just gently close your eyes and just sit with yourself. Just absorbing how you are. Allowing anything that's resonated with you to just be with you. And just feel the blessings of Padmasambhava flowing into you. That he wishes the best for you. Just opening to the blessings of Padmasambhava and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as they wish you well on your path and your journey through life. That you have the strength to deal with the challenges. And you open to the joys of life with gratitude. All the people who've made a difference in your life. Just finding a way to trust that the challenges in the future, somehow you'll find a way. Just getting that sense of the person to your right and left, They too are on their path, their journey to understand themselves, understand the world,